Well, I think it's 12 o'clock, and welcome to Word for the Day. My name's Terry Whitaker. For those of you that don't know me, I lead a fresh expression of church called Reach at Gillingham Pier, and my family and I are very much part of the family of St Margaret's, and it's good to be with you. For those with me yesterday, you'll probably recollect we looked at time, and in particular, where do we focus ourselves? Do we live in some sort of desire for a better future, or do we really honour the present and give our best to the particular moment that we're in? Always a balance, obviously, but the thinking we did yesterday was: is that balance right for us? Are we living in the moment and giving our best? One of the things we looked at as we were considering that question was that passage in Ecclesiastes, which many of you would have heard, may not know where it comes from, but many of you would have heard that God-inspired passage where we talk about there being a time for living and a time for dying, a time for laughter and a time for crying, a time to dance and a time to be still. All those sort of, those alternatives, and recognizing that life is full of highs and lows, positives and negatives, and that's the reality of life. It's not all one way and never will be. But it begs the question, and I guess the question that we're going to look at today is that, well, does that mean that we're just blown around in our feelings by the circumstances that we're in? It's if we're to be exposed to times of hate, times of pain and illness, are we to feel, are we to respond to those just kind of slightly randomly? And it's quite a big question. And I guess if you listen to the worldview, if you listen to the marketeers and the advertisers, they'll say, well, that's not the way the world is. The world's intended and meant to be a place filled with happiness. And if that's not your life, then you can get that life. It's very easy. It just costs money. You could buy a different car. You could live in a different house. You could buy different clothes. They'll make you happy. You could be bigger than you are or smaller than you are. You could have a different hairstyle. That'll make you happy. All these things will make you happy. But when you think about happiness is like a butterfly. It's there, and then it's gone. And it's beautiful while it's there. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in happiness. We should embrace happiness when it arrives, and love it for all that it is, all that emotion. But the reality is, happiness is a thing that lives in your head. And for as many times as you're happy, probably the truth is there are an equal number of times when you are sad and worse, and a big neutral space in between. But I guess the challenge is, well, is that how it's meant to be? Are we meant to be just blown around them by either a set of circumstances that just happened to us, or a set of circumstances we endeavour to control? And if you think about happiness, it's probably at the root of most addictions. If I have more money, then I'll be happier, so therefore I'll gamble. If I've got, if I'm not happy with my relationships at home, then I can find a better one online. If all that fails, then I'll just inject the chemicals or take the tablets that will make me happy, and then life will be good. But I don't think that's the plan. I think God's got a different plan for us, and I think that plan is rooted in joy rather than happiness. And please don't hear me wrong. Please don't hear me say that it's wrong to be happy, because it's not. It's one of life's great joys. But But God talks to us about joy. And so you think, well, what is it that joy is, then happiness isn't? And I think the reality for me is that whilst happiness may live in your head, joy is something that lives in your soul. It's something that's deeper. You know, the weather today, as I look out the window, the difference between yesterday and today is just extraordinary. Seeing the sun and feeling the warmth definitely makes me happy. But actually, as I walked the dogs this morning and smelt that smell of grass and trees with water on them, with rainwater on them, it brought a real sense of joy, something deeper. Didn't make me laugh, didn't make me, show all those outward signs of happiness. But something deep inside me thought, this is good. And it filled me with joy. So joy and happiness are two different things. And I guess it begs the question then, well, where does joy come from? If joy lives in the soul, if it can genuinely be thought of in that way, then how can I get it? The marketers can't give it to me. I can't buy it. So where does joy come from? And I guess inevitably I'll go back to the Bible. And if you look at Galatians, there's another famous passage there which says the fruits of the Holy Spirit are love, joy, peace, etc., etc. It's not the fruit, it's a gift of the Spirit. The gift of the Spirit of God is joy. Now, each one of us has the Spirit of God that lives inside us. That's something I firmly believe. And that Spirit holds gifts for us. And it's God's purpose to use those gifts. So how do we liberate them? How do we make that happen? Well, I guess it's like any relationship, then we have to invest in it. We have to recognize the joy that there is in a relationship with Christ, with Jesus. It's through that relationship that sense of gifting will build. That sense of being rooted will grow. And those gifts will then start to emerge in our lives. Can you be joyful through difficult times? Well, you can if in your head you recognize that the outward emotions, the outward signs of what happiness is or joy is are no more than outward signs. Happiness is this chemical thing in here. Joy is this thing deep inside. So you may experience a set of circumstances that are really hard. And many of us are doing that right now. But there's a difference between, are we happy about them? No, we're not. Can we still be joyful despite? Yes, we can. And if you go back to the Bible again, and you look at Philippians, it's an amazing book to read. It's very short. It's a letter written by Paul in prison. He was definitely not happy, but he was just full of joy. And he comes out that classic line, to live is Christ and to die is gain. So what was that all about? The reality is that Paul's perspective of life is, something in the present, there are good things. I know Christ. I can see beauty. I know and I can read his word, and I know that all those things are great for me. But beyond that, I know there's even better to come. So whatever it is that's happened to me now, the thing that's to come that's out there is so much richer. So why should I let go of joy? Why should I crumple under the weight of things that perhaps don't make me happy? The Spirit of God is intended Its purpose is to allow us to live lives filled with joy and peace and security and love. So I guess my challenge today that I leave you with is that thought. Am I hung up on happiness? Or am I investing in joy? So I hope you have a good day. This evening, Jodie's leading Ladies' Night for Bible study. That'll be at 7:00. And I think it might be Jodie again, actually, doing night prayers thereafter. So please do join us later on. Meantime, have a good afternoon and evening. Stay safe. Take care. God bless.